Hi friends, today we are giving an awareness session on basics of project management. This is as a part of our promise to release various videos for the topics included in our IES revised pattern. As all of you know, in this particular topic, the content may be right from the generation of idea to the implementation of the project, and of course the last will be the termination of the project. There are various aspects as seen from recent UPSC model paper. The questions will touch the basics, of course, on a broader perspective. Now we have Professor Balraju with us, who headed the team of preparing the content for this particular topic, basics of project management, in detail. Professor Balraju is going to give a detailed analysis of the various aspects of this particular topic.
Thank you, sir. Dear student friends, this is Dr. G. Balaraju. I am Professor of Mechanical Engineering from ESE Engineering Academy. I would like to discuss about basics of project management. This topic is very familiar to mechanical as well as civil engineering students. However, it is new for electrical as well as electronics engineering students. So what are the contents under this heading? First, we will see introduction to projects. What is a project and what are its characteristics? How do we define a project? What are the examples of a project? Then now we will see what is a project management and what is project life cycle, and how do we select a project that we can call it as project appraisal. When we have a project, then we can define the goals that we can now take under the heading of project planning. Then we'll go for resource allocation, that we can call it as scheduling. After allocation of resources, then we can implement the project. When the project is implemented and finally the closeout phase, we can call it as termination. When we look at the definition of a project can be defined as a unique set of interrelated work elements that must be completed to achieve a common objective within minimum time by means of minimum amount of resources. As per the definition, we can understand that it is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. And what are the examples? The very familiar example, when we construct a building, that is also a project. When we set up a factory, that is a project. A new product we are going to develop, it is a product, it is a project. And when we develop a software, as per concern to software industry, it is also a project. And a power plant erection. Another example I can quote, material project. What are the properties of a project? When we see the properties one by one, it is a unique set, it is unique. The second one, it must have objective, maybe goal oriented work. And as per concern to the resources, optimum utilization of resources, that we can call it as optimality. And definitely all real world problems are uncertain in nature. So definitely the project will have a risk and uncertainty. And when we handle the work, a team is required. So project is a teamwork. And it will have starting time and completion time. That's why we can say it is having life cycle. And finally, it is a customer specific. Then there is a confusion. Project and production. What is the difference between project and production? When we take a project is only one time activity, whereas production is a continuous activity. So that means project is done only once, whereas production is done repetitively. So the best example already we have quoted. Setting a factory is a project. When we produce some components, it is going to be a production. When we construct a dam, that is a project. Store the water and use the water for cultivation purpose, for irrigation as well as power generation, that is a production. So coming to project management deals with tools and techniques to handle a project in most efficient manner. That means what is the main objective of project management? to complete the project in minimum time by means of minimum amount of resources. That means we have to minimize the cost as well as minimize the time. What are the major constraints under project? There are three constraints. Number one, time. Number two, cost. And third one, quality. We can reduce time and cost, but however, we should not compromise in quality. So what are the phases under project management? There are three important phases. So when we take the first one, that is a planning. So there is a saying, plan your work and work your plan. So planning should be efficient so that the remaining phases are becoming very simple. The second phase is going to be scheduling, where allocation of resources will take place. The third one, control. When we implement the project, any kind of deviations, there is a need of some corrective actions that will take place under the control. And we have a project management body of knowledge. As per concern to this, there are so many disciplines involved, like project scope management, project time management, project cost management, what we have discussed just now, and a very important, project quality management. And definitely the project is associated with so many risks that we have to handle them very properly, that we can call it as project risk management. And another one, procurement. While procuring, we have to procure a superior quality things, that could be any kind of resource. We can call it as project procurement management. And what are the tools under project management? So we can classify them into various headings. First, when we see project selection techniques like cost benefit analysis, risk and sensitivity analysis. As per concern to planning, then we have to break down the work, that we can call it as work breakdown structure, and the project execution plan, project responsibility matrix, project management manuals. And the important phase, scheduling. As per concern to scheduling, we are very much familiar with a few tools like bar charts, network diagrams, line of balance, life cycle curves. And monitoring and implementation, for that we have some tools like a progress measurement technique, performance monitoring technique, updating, reviewing and reporting technique. And what is life cycle of a project? The project will start with idea, that we can call it as conception. When the conception is over, that means when the idea is materialized, then we can go for planning. After planning, the next phase, scheduling, then implementation and project termination. This is the end of the project. That means the project will have 5 stages. Start with conception and end with termination. And the maximum effort, if you see, we are going to spend, or we are going to keep our effort in the beginning stage only, like in the beginning, like concept, we have to keep maximum effort. And planning also, we are going to have maximum effort, but when the planning is completed, then the effort levels are getting down, and finally at the execution and closure, very minimum effort generally we are going to use. And selection of project is another important criteria. How do we select a project? First, we have to study the market. In the market, whether we have any scope, based on that we can decide the project, that we can call it as market appraisal. For this, we have some forecasting methods, like some qualitative methods, example market survey, Delphi method, and some quantitative methods like regression, exponential smoothing. Generally we use to analyze the demand for a particular project. When the market feasibility is over, the next phase is technical feasibility. Whether the project is technically feasible or not, we need to check. When technical feasibility is over, then we can go for economic viability. Our project should be economically viable. Some financial aspects, like we are going to deal about the present worth, internal rate of returns. If the present worth is positive, then we can proceed. If the present worth is negative, then we can understand it is not at all economically viable. And very important, environmental appraisal. So today we need to take care about this, whether our project is going to damage the environment. This issue is now becoming critical. Let us consider one simple example. We are going to start a project with some amount, like a 50 lakhs amount, Annual revenue every year we are going to generate rupees 10 lakhs. Life of the project 20 years. The rate of interest say 18%. This can be shown in the cash flow diagram, and we can observe here PESE means present value 50 lakhs, every year 10 lakhs, everything you have to convert into present worth. So we have some formulas. Okay, net present worth in this case we got around some 3,52,700. That means some positive value we got. From this we can conclude that the present worth is positive, hence the project is economically viable. Next, another important issue, as I mentioned, demand forecasting. As per concerned demand forecasting, there are three methods: regression, exponential smoothing, market survey, and Delphi method. So for example, you take this data, 2011 to 2015 some sales figures are available. This is old data, maybe past data. Based upon the past data, we are going to guess the future demand. That means what would be the sales for 2016. Here we may use regression model. As per considered regression model, we have some least squares with some equations are there, and when we are going to find out the trend line, from this easily we can extrapolate. That means 2016 is going to be the beyond the range. That value can substitute and you will get the value. Say here we got around 98,175 based upon the data. And how the questions you can expect in ESE examination. Just I have given some sample questions. Let us have the first one. Which one of the following is not a project? Some options are there. Developing a new product, no doubt. When you develop a new product, it is a project. Production and maintenance of an organization. Here clearly mentioned production. It is not a project. Ruled out. What is the right answer here? B. Designing a new transportation vehicle, construct a building. These are projects only. And the second question, which is not the desired property of a project? That means these are the characteristics. Uniqueness they mentioned, dependency, goal orientation, and independent nature of work elements. Actually the definition says project is a set of interrelated, that means dependency must be there. So what is the answer here? D is the answer. And coming to the third question, the logical sequence as per concerned life cycle. We need to remember the life cycle stages. Here you just see the options. Initiation is right, the next planning, then executing, controlling. But here when we see the options, planning, executing, closeout, controlling, what is the right answer here? Obviously you can say A is the right answer. Which one of the following is not a major constraint of a project? There are three major constraints we have discussed very clearly: quality, cost, and time. And your efficiency is irrelevant. So see what is the answer here? D is the answer. And coming to the next, maybe here some data is there, some numerical data. Based upon the numerical data, we need to find out whether the project is economically viable or not. Just now we have discussed. So here we got some positive value. What is the conclusion we can say? It is just like the project is economically viable. The next phase, planning. In the planning, first we need to define vision, mission. What are the major goals? What are the specific objects? We need to distinguish them. When the objectives and goals are completed, then we can break up the work, like we can go for work breakdown structure, where various work elements we are going to identify. Let us have this diagram. In this project can be divided into systems. System again you can divide into subsystem. Subsystem you can divide into task. Task into subtask, and subtask into work package. That means you take a vehicle. Vehicle will have so many sub-assemblies like a body, chassis, engine assembly. Further engine assembly you can divide into cylinders. Maybe this one example I can quote as per concern to work breakdown structure. The next scheduling. We have to focus much on this. There are some scheduling tools, charts and network diagrams. Charts are no doubt very simple, easy to construct, but charts are having limited applications. They are only suitable for small projects. Whereas network diagrams, these are very much useful to big projects. Let us have a network diagram. You can see there are two networks here. How to decode this, how to interpret this. Arrow indicates activity, that means work element. Here there are two notations, a 2ON diagram. It says that activity is shown on node. Below you can see one more diagram, AOA, where activity is kept on arrow. In order to complete the project, we have to finish all activities like a one by one. You can observe here a path. ACE is a path, BDF is a path, another one BD dummy. The dotted line is indicating dummy activity. BDE is also path. The most important scheduling techniques are CPM and PERT. So what is the full form of CPM? CPM stands for Critical Path Method. PERT refers to Program Evaluation and Review Technique. They may ask you what is the difference between CPM and PERT. So when we see the differences, CPM is a deterministic approach where activity durations are well known. In few real world problems, activity elements or maybe elemental times are uncertain. In those cases, we use PERT. Hence, PERT is a probabilistic approach. And as per concern to CPM, only one time is sufficient, whereas PERT, it deals with 3 times, namely optimistic, most likely and pessimistic. Hence, PERT is known as 3 times estimate. And in CPM, activity is well defined. Hence, we can call it as activity oriented network, whereas in PERT, activity is not well defined. Hence, event is used. And coming to delay periods, when we take activity delay we can call it as float, whereas event delay we can call it as slack. Hence, slack concept where we use means obviously PERT. And crashing means reduce the duration. If the activity elemental times are known, then we can think about how to reduce it. In case of CPM, crashing is possible, whereas in PERT, activity durations are not known, so there is no question of crashing. And one more important point, critical path in both the cases will decide the project completion time. Network may be given to you. They'll ask you what is the longest path, we can call it as critical path. Very simple, from starting to last node, we have to identify different paths. So there are some options are there. We need to evaluate which path has maximum duration, that is called as critical path. It will decide the project duration. So we can conclude that minimum time required to complete the project is equal to critical path duration. In this question, so we have some calculation. When we take path by path, we have some values. Among these, highest is going to be 24. It is the longest path duration. So this is known as project duration. And another question you can see, match the following. In the list 1 some terms are given. In the list 2 characteristics may be explanation. The first term is the activity. What is activity? It is a work element which consumes resources. The second term, event. It is just like a state. How do you answer this question? Based upon the network only. Dummy activity, just now we have discussed, dotted line is going to be dummy activity which consumes 0 resources. Float, it is some delay period. Okay, when we match this, I think you can observe clearly the exact matching. Activity, resource consuming, and event is going to be state or stage. So with this, what is the answer for this question? B is the right answer. And another maybe example, PERT and CPM difference, they may ask. Here some options are there. So when you see the options, what would be the right option here? PERT uses probabilistic, CPM uses deterministic. That is the right answer. And coming to the next question, probability distribution. When we take the probability, there are 2 distributions generally we use. When we talk about activity, it follows beta distribution. When we talk about the entire project, the project duration follows normal distribution. Here the question is the project completion time. It is going to follow normal distribution. So coming to the next question, what is the first method invented for scheduling a project? Just we can observe here bar charts. bar charts are oldest methods. After bar charts, we have milestone charts, linked bar charts, network diagrams. As per the options, bar chart, milestone, critical path and program evaluation review technique. So which one is the oldest one? Bar chart. Which one is the latest among the options? Obviously PERT is the latest one. The next one, time cost trade-off. Here the most important thing is whether we can reduce the project duration. Yes, the project duration can be reduced. However, we have to pay more resources, like we have to spend more resources, more amounts you have to spend. In this diagram you can observe when the project is carried out under normal duration, obviously normal cost is less but indirect cost is high, because indirect cost is always depending upon the duration. The same project, if you crash the project up to full extent, then one can observe clearly indirect cost is reduced because the duration is less. But which one is higher side? Direct cost, because of additional resources. Now there are two controversy issues. If you see the total cost is minimum at one point. That point is known as optimum time. Normally the question may be, how do you find out cost slope when you crash any activity? Here is a formula: crash cost minus normal cost divided by normal time minus crash time. Using this formula we can find out cost slope. Always you have to crash critical activities. These things we are going to discuss under network. So most of the projects we are supposed to find out what is the optimum duration, whether we can go for full crashing or less crashing. We can make use of this particular diagram. Let us have few questions on this. The time corresponding to minimum total project cost. Just now we have seen in the diagram where the total project cost is minimum means optimum time or optimum duration. Among the options, no doubt it is only optimum time. The second question, under crashing. Crashing a project in terms of its duration would result in, number one, an increase in the indirect cost. When we crash, you might have seen indirect cost is increased or decreased means definitely it is decreased only. So it is a wrong statement. A decrease in the indirect cost, it is a right. A decrease in the direct cost no doubt it is increasing. So fourth statement you can observe here, increase in the direct cost. What are the right options here? 2 and 4. And coming to implementation. When we talk about implementation, if the planning and scheduling is completed, then we can go for action plan. As per consent to implementation, we have to select a team. The team headed by a team lead or project lead, generally we can call it as project manager. The project manager has to play a crucial role because the entire implementation, maybe the entire project is in hands of only the manager. And moreover, a team consists of so many experts. But here one of the interesting thing is the team may be full of new people. It is only a temporary setup. When the project is completed, all people will go to their respective departments. Now the project manager has to take care about so many people. He has to coordinate so many people. And then now when you see this diagram, you can observe the project team, how it is formed. The project team contains so many functional managers from various departments, and it is just like a matrix type organization. Yes, some control but not full control. When the project is becoming very complex means if these functional managers are linked with their own departments, maybe their home departments, then delegation as well as some execution is becoming somewhat difficult. But however, the project manager should have a good leadership qualities, so he can manage all these people. And here when you see the role of manager, the manager has to handle 3 issues. So we can call it as conflicts. He has to resolve. We can call it as conflict management. He must have communication, good communication, and human relations he has to maintain. As per consent to the question, there is a possibility you may get like this. Which one of the following is not a correct statement? The project team may be drawn from several departments. Yes, just now we have discussed. The project team consists of so many people from various departments. It is the right answer. Here we are supposed to decide the wrong answer. You take B option. Project controlling is a measure of status of project activities and to initiate corrective actions if required. Yes. Techniques for scheduling projects include Gantt charts and network techniques. This is also right. Project must be repetitive work and with so many objectives. Clearly we have mentioned project is only a work with one objective. Maybe many objectives may be right, but your repetitive work is going to be the wrong. So what is the wrong option here? D. And when we complete the work, the most important thing, contract. The contract is completed and that closeout phase should be very, very proper and always we have to hand over or we have to hand over all documents to the customers in the proper manner. So in the termination phase, what are the activities will take place? We are going to release the project team. Project team duty is only up to the completion of the project. When the project is completed, all people will go to their respective departments and all payments must be completed. And post project evaluation, any kind of maintenance manuals we have to prepare. Schedule and budget management. So far whatever you have done, that everything you have to monitor and everything you have to manage in the proper manner. And all contracts, everything you have to maintain. Customer satisfaction. Ultimately we have finished the work and the same work we are going to hand it over to the customer to his satisfaction. Without compromising the quality, we have completed the work. And finally we have a summary of documents. So everything is in the phase of termination. Okay, so far whatever we have discussed, these are only basics. But as per concern to project management, it has so many phases. There is a chance of getting questions on any one of the phases. And for further assistance, don't hesitate to consult ESE Engineering Academy. Thank you very much.
Well done, Professor. I hope the aspirants of engineering services in the revised pattern might definitely get some advice from it. To win the race, join ESE.